Hi, I'm back in my PJs and I wanted to share a life update. Kara and I decided lovingly and mutually to part ways, and we don't know if it's parting ways temporarily or parting ways permanently. And I don't think we would know or we should know or that we have any say in the matter, actually, because it really depends how our path is meant to unfold individually and also together. And it was truly one of the scariest, most frightful, and also bravest thing that I've ever done. All along, whenever she would suggest it for the good of herself and me and us, I've always felt that my perseverance and my belief in love would just bring us through over any obstacle, any mountain, any hurdle. And I so fiercely and firmly believed in that. I think it's also from this belief that love is such a powerful force, a binding force, that it could bring us through any challenge, and that the challenge would not hold in the face of love. That's my belief, but it's not really my experience, and it's very sad because while we both know how much we care for each other so deeply, and we love each other with so much depth, at the same time, when conflict arise, it's like there is an absence of that. There is completely an absence of that. I have all the practices in my toolkit, but it doesn't matter. Even though we come into repair so quickly, and of course, like at the right time, but I think it's quite swift, whereby in a few minutes or a few hours, we remember again. But in those moments, it's like extreme amnesia, whereby there is just that absence, and it's a complete threat of love being threatened to be taken away or just disappear without any intention on either of our parts. It's just both of us go into threat and survival, and that occurs. It's been a week. I think it's really astounded me. My experience of it through the process of this week, something that really pulled me through is my friends walking the path of braveness themselves, their path of truth, that shows me doing these hard things are possible too. It really feels like the pilgrimage culminated here. It culminated in finding our way back home to ourselves, which requires for us to walk our own path, which in this moment it's not together for me and Kara. Something else that really astounded me is how emotions are really mutable, and they come in waves and they also leave. And in moments where I feel like this grief is going to collapse me, it doesn't. I feel so horrible in the moments of being with the grief and letting it move through me, whatever that looks like. But then it passes. I don't know how long it takes to pass, but it passes. And it's really like the fear that I feel, the tremors, and the intense anxiety that I have been feeling. Something that comforts me is knowing that it all passes. And I feel like that really brings me safety, the knowing that this hard thing is going to go, and it's okay for me to be with it for right now. Sometimes I get scared that because I feel that I'm managing this, or I feel like this experience has been completely manageable. Like when I'm sad, I let myself be sad, and then I feel inspired to move in a direction, and then that takes my attention. But I've been procrastinating this separation for so long, even though there are many parts of me that feels like it's definitely the right thing to do by us. I was so terrified to let go. And in some moments when we come so close to the letting go, I would retract and feel like it would really feel like death if we do separate, which it is. I believe strongly it is a death of its own kind. And there is such a terror, like real terror of this death. And I feel like I'm still living through the death in my own way. But it's not all of me. And there are parts of me that's revitalized and hopeful and optimistic, and there is so much more space for creation and creativity. Like, I've been painting more, and my paintings to me are more beautiful than they've ever been. And also, I created an Etsy shop, which is something that I wanted to do for so long, to create glyphs and original glyphs and to print them on wearables. And it was really because Kara took a shared singlet back, and I don't have any more singlets except for my PJs, and all I have are crop tops. So I was looking for a singlet and I couldn't find something that I liked, and it inspired me to create exactly what I want. And yeah, that took a lot of my focus for some parts of this week. And I feel like there is juice and there is energy to be in that flow state of creation, because I'm not constantly in every moment bracing or feeling threatened that love would be gone, or feeling hyper vigilant around the dynamic. And we still share a lot of love for each other, so much love. And if anything, this separation did bring us back to a very tender place, which is the same place that we return to after each rupture, and usually on the same day. But then there is the next cycle of rupture again before the repair. And even though every time after rupture, the medicine of repair brings us back to more love and a deeper understanding of ourselves and each other and the dynamic, it doesn't make the rupture go away. I think that if anything, it makes the time between rupture and repair less and less, but the ruptures are still there, and it feels like if we don't just break the dynamic, it would break us. And I think what's really painful for me is that knowing that I believed so strongly that there must be a way to stop the dynamic or to kill the dynamic without killing the relationship. It just didn't seem possible. And no matter all the different ways that we've tried, somatically, energetically, cognitively, to find ways through the moments of activation to remember that in those moments there are still a part of us that loves the other so much, it just doesn't seem to matter. And I feel like while it's a very sad thing, it also feels like it's also what is wanted from the both of us, at least in this season or right now, for we both don't know how long, for us to be walking our individual paths and to be carving out this path for ourselves and of ourselves without the other. And maybe it's because these paths are not parallel, or maybe they are, but they're just not meant to be so influenced by the other. I don't know, but what I do know is I'm just astounded by resilience. And I've always known myself to be a resilient and very, very persistent person. Yet this was something that I was so afraid of. The separation, the idea of being okay after separation just was not available to me. While I had a fantasy, like far away fantasy, that I would be okay and thriving and just so happy after the healing. I didn't know that this phase could really be so manageable, and that it is really okay to hold both the grief and sadness and longing and desire and the heartache, along with creating and art and beauty and living and spaciousness and calm and peace. I didn't, I just didn't have the life experience that both could coexist, and both are really big things. And I was just feeling how this really feels like such a rite of passage, like the pilgrimage that I've just been on. It really, I think it built up to this. It definitely built up to this. All of the power points at each sides that brought up stuff within us, that sometimes it's individual and sometimes they just co-activate and trigger the other. It led to this, and it really felt like a full-on birthing process of us, of ourselves, but not together, unfortunately, or perfectly right now. But that's where we are at, and I'm really, really inspired by everyone around me who are choosing from this place of sovereignty too. And I feel like for a long time Kara has been doing that for us, for herself, and it's harder when we are together because of our dynamic. And also we have been really putting so much hope and optimism that there can be a way that we can choose sovereignty with each other. But right now, with all of the different things that shape us, it's just not available. So I feel like actually there is nothing left to do but to completely release grit and surrender in the full sense of the word. And it's funny because people just say, oh, surrender, and now I feel like I really get a very deep experience of the word surrender, and really giving it all up to spirit and letting spirit decide what is the unfolding. So there is definitely a lot of sitting with a lot of pain and grief, but also a rush and influx of creative flow. And it's amazing how much energy there is for creation when the system isn't fighting to stay alive. And I guess something else I wanted to share is also so much gratitude for everyone that's going through transition and being so courageous in taking right action. And I feel like this has been my mantra for a while now, at least since sound healing, when I set the intention that I'll be brave enough to take right action. And I feel like when I say that out loud, there's a bit of shame, because there's like fear of judgment that I'm not taking right action or I'm not living in integrity. And I feel like that may be true in some parts, but if I made the severing at that time, it would be really abandoning a lot of the parts of myself, and it had to build up to the extent now, because it wasn't just suffering. The time that we stayed together, it didn't feel like borrowed time either. It just felt like we really wanted to give it our best shot, just really give it our best, and we went beyond our best. And I know that so deeply, that we both really tried so hard. And I think that, like everything in life, we are not meant to try that hard. If something is so hard, it's like banging on a door that refuses to open, and that love and life can be in flow and can be easy and easeful. And while there are certain challenges that are meant for us, I think there is also a time for us to surrender and to see what happens from that surrendering. And there's this song that I love called Divine Surrendering by Do Pauro. And I feel that it really speaks to this, whereby we both give it up to spirit. So this is the pilgrimage that I'm on right now, and that's still moving me and moving through me. I've got about a month, just under a month before the pilgrimages that I'm facilitating in Cornwall and Glastonbury, and it does feel like this separation, the act of separation is truly like being pushed and pushing through the birth portal, the rite of passage, the initiation, to be facilitating these journeys for others. It's to do the hard things myself, and this is truly the hardest thing I've ever had to do in life, and the most humbling, being knocked on my knees kind of way. And while it's not easy at all, I really am so grateful because I get to know myself from scratch, and to understand and learn how I would be in my life alone, because I am kind of alone right now in Glastonbury, to know of my rhythms, what I would do in my day, to just let the flow of life take me while I'm learning, I guess, to stand up tall and to really, really understand what it means to live in integrity in every moment, every decision, every choice, which is to follow what calls and to follow what feels aligned, whether it's to be moving through work in a day, or to be doing something creative, or to be relaxed. There's really a freedom of choice every moment right now, and I'm very lucky because it feels very luxurious to have so much agency just being handed to me on a silver platter, and to see what I want to do with it. It really does feel like a new chapter, and very in line with the something bucket that's going on, Baldrin's bucket or something that's going on in the sky right now. So I'm really curious to witness the unfolding of this, of the dynamic, the new dynamic, the soul friendship between Kara and I that will forever and always be there, and to see what transpires through the calling and through what Spirit wants of me and of us. Thank you for listening and allowing for me to share this experience with you all.